Okay, in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to start the drawing for your truss design. So the first thing we need to do is we want to find our starting point by going up at least 1 inch from the bottom of the paper and over 2 inches from the left side. So if we find the intersection on this grid, it would be right there where I'd like to start. So I would then take my ruler, place my ruler on this grid, and find the intersection where the 12-inch mark would be located. And that would be right here on the ruler. Once I find that distance of 12 inches, I'm going to draw this line. This will become the bottom of the truss. So this line here is 12 inches long. Okay? Now I want to travel up 1/4 of an inch, or 1 small square on this grid. Once I have those extended up 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect the 2 endpoints that I just created. So now I have this lower member of the truss. Now I want to find the points for the top of the truss that I want to connect my lines to. And since the truss must be 3 inches tall, I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to count 3 large squares on this grid because each square is 1 inch. So it's 1, 2, 3 large squares, and then I want to come in 1.5 inches from this point. And since each square is 1 inch, that means I go 1.5 large squares over, or the equivalent of 6 small squares. Okay, so just for reference, this here is 3 inches long. Okay, and the distance from here to here, I should say here, is 1.5 inches from right here. Okay, so with that said, I found my point and I'm going to connect my ruler between the top corner of this long rectangle and that newfound point there that is 1.5 inches over, and I draw that line. Now I need to do the same thing and repeat it on the left side. So again, I'm going to start at the bottom corner. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3 large squares and 1.5 large squares over, or again the equivalent of 6 small squares. I'm going to place my ruler between that point and the top corner of my lower rectangle that I created, and I create this line there. Now I can connect the 2 points that I've created along the top by placing my ruler through both points and draw that line. Now, just like I did down here, where I went up 1 block and I created this member, I want to come down 1 block and create the same along the top edge. So I'm going to come down 1 block, use my ruler to line that line right up, and I'm going to draw this line in place. Okay, so that is everything we need the ruler for. I'm going to put the ruler aside, and now I'm going to use a sample piece of the wood that we're going to be using to build our truss with. Now this wood is 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. It is balsa wood, so it is extremely lightweight. And what I'm going to do with this wood is I'm going to use it as a template to create my members. The first 2 that I have to create are the ones that go on each end. And to do so, I'm going to place this along the edge of my line with the edge of the wood. And then I'm going to simply trace the other side of the wood to create that member. So once you have this held down firmly, you're going to trace the inside edge so that it looks like this. I'm going to repeat that process on the left side. Okay, now this is the framework that will be the same for everybody's truss. The next thing you need to do is you need to find your line of symmetry, because everything on a truss needs to be symmetrical. In other words, it should be a mirror image from itself from one side of the line of symmetry to the other side. So if this is 12 inches long, that means that our line of symmetry will be exactly at 6 inches. So I'm going to place a straight edge. I could just simply use this piece of wood. And I'm going to mark this line here, like so. And that will be labeled as our LS, or line of symmetry. So before we go to the next step, this would be the same for everybody. And now in the next video, I will show you some examples of choices you can have for inside members and how you choose to design your truss.